Hey everyone, it's Arlene. I am here today to show you a project that I just completed, but before I do that, I wanted to just tell you guys a little story. It was funny, today Mbuna and I were talking, and I had mentioned to her that I found the Edward and Bella stamps, and I had ordered them, and I'm a Twilight fan. I'm not so much a tweenie. I mean, I'm not like that bad, but I really love Twilight. And so this past Christmas, my brother-in-law had actually given me this new moon memorabilia type of thing, and it's a Cullen Crest wrap bracelet. So it was funny, so I was telling Bona about it, and she's like, I dare you to wear it on your next video. So anyways, here is the packaging, and here is the bracelet. So I'm wearing it on the video, Bona. So anyways, let me go ahead and get into the mini. Looks like I am low on batteries, so I gotta make this pretty quick. So here's my mini. It's actually a tag mini album, and I created it using the tag die cut for my Accucut machine, and I used the vintage paper bags as my base paper on all of the tags. Now on the cover here is the Tim Holtz bird cage and bird, and I do have the die on order, but I actually got these die cuts from Roseanne, and she's Roxy Car 11. She had sent it to me with some ephemera order that she had sent me. So anyways, what I did is I took the bird cage and I put some Ranger embossing ink. Gosh, what do they call this stuff? Yeah, distress embossing ink. And I used the scattered straw. Gosh, I keep forgetting the color. Old paper. The old paper distress embossing powder, and I heat embossed it onto the bird cage. And then I have some really pretty ribbon here that I got on frostedpink.com. And then this is a Martha Stewart butterfly punch, and I used a piece of fiber as the body of the butterfly. And then on here, on the binding, well, not really on the binding, on the cage, I have a Seven Gypsies charm clasp, and I made my own little beading here. So this is by Blue Moon Beads, and then I put a key here that I alcohol inked in latte and gold, and I got this key from Home Basics on eBay. That's their seller, They're the ones that sell all the gorgeous fiber. Over here, this is one of those ivory flower wedding accent things that you can buy at Michael's, and I just glimmer mist it. And I heat set it a little close so the pearls crinkled a little bit. It actually has a pretty cool look because it looks a little bit antique. Okay, so that's the bird cage. And then you flip it over, and here's the bird. And I colored it using the new inks. Gosh, which one? Oh, I used crushed olive. Okay, so I colored the bird using crushed olive, and then I colored the branch with Vintage Photo Distress ink, and then I used some rock candy stickles on the wing to give it some dimension. And then I cut out a Tim Holtz crown, and this is from one of the stamp sets, and then I just put some bling for the eye and on the crown. And then here's some Prima bling, and then I put a little pheasant feather on there to add a little bit of interest. And all of the tags are distressed using the Rusty Hinge distress ink. And then I curled up the edges purposely to give it that distress look. Okay, this side's pretty simple. I just basically stamped the film strip from one of my Tim Holtz stamp sets and then cut it out, and then I put some of these Vintage Findings paper flowers on there that I also distressed with the Rusty Hinge distress ink, and then I just put some black lace here so I can easily just place a photo right on that side right there. And then over here I took a stamp frame, and it's actually open on the top so a photo can be inserted in, and I daubed it with gold dauber paint, and then I put some Vintage Photo Distress stickles. I rubbed it on with my finger, and then I have a little cherub here, really cute. And then I used these, and I love to work with these. These are the mercantile tiles that you can get at Michael's, and I just alternated the colors and lined it up there. And this is a Webster's Pages trim, and then I just put some gold bling to line it up. Okay, and then on this page, really simple, it's just a Prima ribbon that I put across the tag, and then here's one of those tags by 7 Gypsies, just as parcel post, but you can do some journaling on there. And then this is one of those Blue Moon, actually this is Madame Delphine charms, the ones that are on sale at Michael's currently. Okay, and then on this page I use some Vintage Findings ruler tape. It came in one of the Vintage Findings that we all got at Michael's when they went on clearance. It was one of these, came in one of the packs. And I used that as a little place for me to insert some tags. This right here is a also from the Vintage Findings set. Oops, sorry, that was my tiny attacher that just fell. My Vintage Findings button, and I just put it on one of those little shipping tag thingamajigs that came with the Vintage Findings collection also. The binder clip came from the Vintage Findings collection also, and I just basically covered it with 7 Gypsies gaffer tape. And here are just some tags that I just inserted. Oops, gotta lift this up. And then I think I might have clasped this. I didn't mean to do that though. Okay, so basically the tags come out, and then I just did some stamping on the back for journaling. Okay, so those are the tags. And when you flip it over to this side, there's a, sorry, the tripod's like in the total way here. So I have a Prima flower and a Prima rose in the middle, and it's a glimmer mist with burnt red glimmer mist, I believe. And all the pages, by the way, I had glimmer mist. I don't know if you can see the shine, but I glimmer mist all the pages with marshmallow glimmer mist. So this opens like this. And then these stamps here, sorry, these stamps here are also from the Vintage Finding collection, and these are Prima ribbons and lace. So it opens up this way, so there's space here for pictures and more pictures, and then probably journaling over here maybe, and then it just opens like that, and then just could do some journaling or pictures on there. I wasn't sure what I was going to do here. I was going to put another tag in there, but anyways, I just left it blank, and I could probably do something else here too. Okay, so it just goes like that, and then this just closes shut. Okay, and then on this side, I basically took this black cardstock, and then I used my Stampin' Up! Spiral punch, looks like this, okay, to make it sort of like a notebook page. And then I took this heart doily, and I distressed it again with the Rusty Hinge Distress ink. And then these are 2 Prima flowers that I sprayed some marshmallow glimmer mist on, and then a couple of pheasant feathers there. And then this is Admit 1, is a Tim Holtz stamp from one of the stamp sets, and I just distressed it, curled it with some Vintage Photo Distress ink, and then I stamped the word fun in there. So it says Admit 1 Fun. And there really is no theme to this mini album, because this is actually a gift, and I wanted the person that is getting it to be able to do what they want with it. So. And then over here, I just took this chipboard frame and I embossed it using the Stampin' Stuff Marcasite. It's really, really pretty, you guys. You guys have to try that out. It's just really, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's just gorgeous embossing powder. I love it. And then over here, I glimmer mist these Primas with Scarlet Red, and then this one is glimmer mist using Slate and Raven. I love it. It just comes out just black, which is really cool. And then I punched out, or die cut, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's some black doily, or not black doily. Gosh, I'm at a lack for words, you guys, but there's some black netting there, and then I have like a little fiber sticking out there. So that's that page. And which way am I going? Okay, and then over here, this flower is from the Vintage Findings, and then this burlap is from Vintage, as I cut out with my Sizzix, and then I just have some gold leaves and a pheasant feather. And I'm going to go fast here because I'm running out of time. So here's a frame I lined with lace, and then here's a little flower. I used some of that diamond dust on there, and then some more leaves. And over here, just some of the Prima ribbon with the roses on it, my favorite ribbon. And then I have a hinge clip, and then a charm that I made, and then just a couple of tags are tied in there. And that's it, guys. So that's my project, and I will have a couple more videos coming out soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.